Every family has one. Every friend group has one. Every workplace has one. A person who somehow keeps everything together. When life becomes chaotic, people don't panic. They call them, not because they ever asked for that role, but because everyone quietly believes they'll know what to do. They're the calm voice, the reliable one. The person who stays composed while everyone else is overwhelmed. They solve problems. They comfort people. They carry responsibilities that no one else even notices. And after a while, something strange begins to happen. People stop seeing them as a person. They start seeing them as the strong one, the one who never needs help, the one who never falls apart, the one who will always be okay. And maybe that's who you've become. Someone everyone depends on, someone everyone admires, someone everyone assumes is doing just fine. But strength has a hidden side, because strength can become a mask, one you wear for so long that even you forget what's underneath it. You smile, you reassure everyone, you say, "I'm okay," and maybe you even believe it until one quiet moment when nobody needs anything from you, and you realize you're not just tired, you're exhausted. Not the kind of exhausted that sleep fixes, the kind that comes from carrying everyone else for so long that you forgot how to put the weight down. And the strangest part, almost nobody notices, because you've become too good at hiding it. The truth is, nobody is born believing they have to carry everything alone. People learn it, slowly, quietly, usually long before they understand what's happening. Maybe you were the child who never wanted to create more problems. So while everyone else was struggling, you stayed quiet. Maybe home didn't feel emotionally safe. Maybe every adult around you was already carrying too much. So without anyone asking, you decided, "I'll make things easier." Or maybe you looked around one day, hoping someone would come, someone who would make everything feel okay. But nobody came. So little by little, you became your own rescue. You stopped asking for help, not because you didn't need it, but because needing things started to feel dangerous. Every time you handled something alone, your brain learned another lesson. See, we survived. So next time, handle it yourself again. It wasn't confidence. It was adaptation, a survival strategy. You smiled when you wanted to cry. You apologized for needing anything. You became independent long before you actually wanted to be. And every year, that survival strategy grew stronger, until one day, being strong was no longer something you did. It became the only version of yourself you believed people would love. And that's where the cost begins, because every role has a price. The price of always being the strong one is that people slowly stop checking whether you're okay, not because they don't love you, not because they don't care, but because you've spent years convincing everyone, including yourself, that you'll always figure it out. You've become everyone's safe place, the calm voice during arguments, the steady hands during emergencies, the person everyone runs toward, while you quietly wonder who you're supposed to run to. Because after years of carrying everyone else, something inside you changes. You stop asking, "What do I need?" You only ask, "What does everyone else need?" And without realizing it, your own emotions move to the bottom of the list, because somewhere deep inside, you no longer believe you're allowed to put the weight down. The hardest part isn't the weight itself. It's pretending that it doesn't feel heavy anymore. You've spent so many years being everyone else's safe place that you've forgotten what it feels like to have one of your own. Psychologists have a name for this pattern. It's often called compulsive self-reliance. But don't let the name fool you. It doesn't begin as confidence. It begins as protection. It begins with someone who looked around and quietly realized nobody was coming, so they became everything they needed. The caretaker, the problem solver, the responsible one, the person who never falls apart. And your brain remembered that, not as a choice, as a survival rule. Your nervous system quietly learned, if I need people, I might get hurt. If I depend on someone, I might be disappointed. So the safest option is to become the person who needs nobody. At first, that rule protects you. It helps you survive difficult moments. It helps you stay in control. But survival strategies have an expiration date. The problem is your brain doesn't always know when the danger is over. So even years later, surrounded by people who genuinely care about you, a part of you is still living as if you're completely alone. You still hesitate before saying, "I need help." You still feel guilty when someone does something for you, you still believe that being the strong one is the safest way to be loved, not because anyone told you that, but because your nervous system learned it long ago, and after enough years, it stops feeling like fear. It starts feeling like your personality. If you've lived like this for a long time, the signs become almost invisible, not because they're small, but because they've become normal. Someone asks, "How are you?" Before you've even thought about the answer, you hear yourself say, "I'm fine," not because it's true, but because you've said it so many times. It comes automatically. You finally get a quiet evening, nothing to do, nowhere to be, no one asking for anything, and instead of relaxing, you feel uncomfortable, almost guilty, as if resting means you're failing someone, so you find something to do, anything, because sitting still feels unfamiliar. Someone offers to help you, and without thinking, you smile and say, "I've got it," even when you're exhausted, even when carrying it alone is the harder option, because accepting help feels more uncomfortable than struggling in silence. Then one day, someone asks you a different question, not "How are you?" but "How are you really?" And something inside you freezes, not because you don't have feelings, because you haven't visited them in a very long time. You've become so focused on taking care of everyone else that you've stopped checking how you're doing. And maybe that's the saddest part. You weren't hiding your pain from other people. You were hiding it from yourself. And over time, this pattern starts taking things from you. Not all at once, quietly. It costs you the experience of being held, of someone looking at you and saying, "I know you're tired. You don't have to carry this alone." It costs you real intimacy, because real intimacy requires showing someone the version of you that isn't always okay. The version that's scared, the version that's confused, the version that's overwhelmed. But when all people ever see is your strength, they can love you deeply and still never truly know you. It costs you your healing because you're so busy helping everyone else recover that your own wounds never get the chance. They don't disappear. They wait quietly, growing heavier while you keep moving. And perhaps the greatest cost of all is that one day you wake up and realize you've spent your entire life taking care of everyone except yourself. So if you've recognized yourself in this, I want you to hear something, not as advice, but as a reminder. Being strong is not the same as being okay. You can be the person everyone depends on and still feel completely alone. You can smile, keep your promises, show up for everyone, and still be quietly falling apart inside. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Somewhere along the way, you confused survival with identity. You believed that the strongest version of yourself was the version that needed nothing. But that's not strength. That's exhaustion, disguised as strength. Real strength isn't carrying everything alone. Real strength is knowing when you've carried enough. It's trusting someone enough to let them see the parts of you that aren't polished, the parts that don't have answers, the parts that feel afraid, because the people who truly care about you were never expecting perfection. They were only hoping you would trust them enough to be real. And here's the quiet truth. The stronger people believe you are, the less permission they give you to be anything else. So your loneliness doesn't come from being unloved. It comes from being known only for your strength. But pain doesn't disappear just because it stays silent. It waits. It settles deeper until one day you realize you don't have to be the strong one anymore. You only have to be you.